Imagine stepping back in time, thousands of years, to a world where history was etched in oral traditions and cryptic texts. Here, a figure emerges, shrouded in an almost impossible mystery. He walks through the most ancient narratives, appearing briefly, yet leaving an indelible mark that echoes through millennia. This isn't just any priest, this is Melchizedek, a name whispered in awe, a title that defies explanation. He arrives without warning, without lineage, without introduction in the biblical account of Genesis. There's no mention of his father or mother, no record of his birth, no date of his death. This absence of origin immediately sets him apart, signaling that he is something profoundly different, something transcendent. He simply is. This enigmatic quality has captivated scholars, theologians, and mystics for centuries. How can a priest, a figure inherently tied to earthly heritage and tradition, exist outside of these very structures? His appearance challenges our most fundamental understandings of divinity and human history. He's a whisper from an unknown realm, stepping into the spotlight of Abraham's life. His sudden appearance, blessing Abraham, poses monumental questions. Who exactly was this priest king of Salem, and why did the most revered patriarch offer him a tithe of everything? The implications of this offering and Melchizedek's singular status are staggering and lead directly into the impossible role he embodies. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Now let's get started. The very title, King of Salem and Priest of God Most High, presents a profound paradox, a convergence of powers that defied the established order of the ancient world. In nearly all societies, the roles of king and priest were kept separate, often in direct opposition. Kings wielded secular authority, focused on earthly dominion and conquest, while priests served as intermediaries, their power derived from spiritual devotion and ritual. To combine these two roles into a single individual was almost unheard of, a disruption of the natural balance. A king was typically concerned with earthly power, lineage, and succession. A priest, on the other hand, was bound by sacred duties, purification, and the service of the divine, often passing their office through a specific religious bloodline. Melchizedek shattered these conventions. His dual role suggested a unified authority, a singular figure embodying both temporal and spiritual sovereignty. This was not merely about ruling a city. It was about presiding over both the material and spiritual realms simultaneously. What kind of being could possibly hold such immense, contradictory power without corruption? This unique combination elevated Melchizedek beyond mere mortal status, hinting at a divine appointment or even a divine nature. His ability to be both king and priest suggested a perfect blend of justice and holiness, a figure of ultimate authority. The profound implications of this dual role compel us to explore the true meaning behind his title, Priest of God Most High. When Melchizedek is introduced, he is described as the Priest of God Most High, or El Elyon. This isn't a casual title. It's a designation loaded with profound theological significance, elevating him above the common deities worshipped in Canaan. In a land teeming with gods associated with specific regions or elements, El Elyon represented the supreme, transcendent deity, the creator of heaven and earth. This title distinguishes Melchizedek's God as not just a god, but the ultimate, universal God. Abraham, who had journeyed from Ur of the Chaldees, was already a monotheist, worshipping the one true God. Yet when Melchizedek blesses him using this specific name, Abraham immediately recognizes and acknowledges its authority. This suggests a pre-existing, shared understanding of the supreme divine. It implies that Melchizedek's priesthood was not bound to a specific tribe or nation, like the Levitical priesthood would later be. Instead, it was universal, predating the Abrahamic covenant and the formation of Israel. His God was not a tribal deity, but the sovereign ruler over all creation. This made Melchizedek's priestly authority incredibly broad and foundational. The acknowledgement of El Elyon by both Melchizedek and Abraham points to an ancient, primordial monotheism that existed before the distinct identity of Israel. It sets the stage for a priesthood untethered by human limitations or historical succession. This timeless, universal aspect of Melchizedek's priestly office is what truly resonates in Psalm 110, an ancient text that would redefine his enduring significance. Psalm 110 is a pivotal text that catapults Melchizedek from a fleeting historical figure into an eternal prophetic archetype. Written centuries after Genesis, this psalm is a royal oracle, most famously attributed to King David himself. It speaks of a future king sitting at the right hand of God, whom the Lord has sworn an oath. "You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek." This single verse fundamentally reshapes Melchizedek's story. It takes a seemingly minor character, one who vanishes as quickly as he appeared, and places him at the center of a messianic prophecy. The psalm doesn't just mention Melchizedek. It establishes an entire priestly order named after him, an order that is explicitly forever. This forever aspect is crucial, as it suggests a priesthood that transcends human mortality and temporal limitations. The oath sworn by the Lord emphasizes the divine appointment and unchangeable nature of this new priestly lineage. It's not just a passing wish, but a divine decree. This declaration hints at a priesthood superior to the Levitical system, which was bound by birth, ritual, and human lifespan. It introduced a radical concept, a king who also served as an eternal priest. This prophecy lay dormant for centuries, its full implications unclear, until a new era of interpretation would seize upon its profound meaning. The idea of an eternal priest, after the order of Melchizedek, sparked intense debate and revealed a powerful theological expectation, one that would find its most explicit expression in an influential letter to early believers. That letter to the Hebrews would resurrect Melchizedek in a stunning new light. The New Testament letter to the Hebrews breathes new life into the ancient figure of Melchizedek, placing him at the very core of Christian theology. The author of Hebrews, grappling with the transition from the Old Covenant to the New, seizes upon Melchizedek as the ultimate proof of Christ's superior priesthood. It's here that Melchizedek is systematically resurrected, his brief appearance in Genesis unpacked with meticulous detail. The letter masterfully argues that Christ's priesthood is not based on the Levitical lineage, which was temporary and imperfect, but on the eternal, superior order of Melchizedek. Hebrews highlights Melchizedek's lack of genealogy, describing him as without father or mother, without genealogy, without beginning of days or end of life. This isn't a literal claim that he had no parents, but a theological statement about his symbolic eternality. This deliberate omission in Genesis, the very thing that made Melchizedek so mysterious, becomes positive evidence for his prophetic role. It signifies a priesthood that stands outside mortal constraints, a perfect mirror for Christ's everlasting mediatorial office. By receiving Abraham's tithe and blessing him, Melchizedek is shown to be superior to Abraham, and thus superior to the entire Levitical priesthood that descended from Abraham. The author of Hebrews uses Melchizedek to demonstrate that a greater, more perfect high priest was always prophesied, one who offers a single, eternal sacrifice. This reinterpretation isn't just an academic exercise. It's a powerful theological claim that reshapes understanding of salvation and divine order. This powerful assertion by the early church about Melchizedek's symbolic significance wasn't a new idea, however, it drew from centuries of diverse interpretations. Long before the letter to the Hebrews, and certainly afterward, early Christian thinkers wrestled with the enigma of Melchizedek, offering a spectrum of fascinating interpretations. Some saw him as a pre-incarnate appearance of Christ himself, a physical manifestation of the Son of God walking the earth before Bethlehem. His kingly and priestly roles, combined with his mysterious origin, perfectly fit this ancient Christological view. Others identified him as a deified angel, a heavenly being entrusted with a special mission to bless Abraham. This perspective acknowledged his extraordinary status without attributing full divinity to him directly. Then there were those who believed he was simply a righteous human king and priest, perhaps Shem, Noah's son, whose immense lifespan and spiritual significance aligned with Melchizedek's mysterious nature. This provided a human lineage while maintaining his exceptional status. These diverse interpretations highlight the profound impact Melchizedek had on the spiritual imagination of the early church. He wasn't just a biblical footnote. He was a theological powerhouse, a Rorschach test for understanding divine intervention and the nature of priesthood. His presence challenged conventional thought and spurred deep theological reflection. Regardless of the specific identification, the common thread was Melchizedek's superior status and his unique connection to divine authority, prefiguring the ultimate high priest. The early church's varied discussions on Melchizedek created a rich backdrop of thought, but another critical source of understanding was about to emerge from ancient scrolls, shedding unexpected light on his character. Just when scholars thought they understood the limits of Melchizedek's narrative, the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in the mid-20th century threw open an entirely new window into his legend. Among these ancient texts, specifically Scroll 11Q Melchizedek or 11Q Melch, a startling portrayal of Melchizedek emerged, diverging significantly from traditional biblical accounts. This scroll expanded his role far beyond that of a mere priest-king. In 11Q Melch, Melchizedek is depicted not just as a human figure, but as an exalted heavenly being, a divine cosmic judge and deliverer. He is identified as a powerful angelic figure, possibly even mirroring or being equated with Michael, the archangel. His function is to preside over the divine judgment at the end of time, delivering the righteous from the wicked and executing God's justice. This interpretation transforms Melchizedek into an eschatological figure, a central player in the final battle between good and evil. He is described as canceling debts, atoning for sins, and leading the forces of light against Belial, the prince of darkness. This portrayal invests him with immense cosmic authority and redemptive power, making him a figure of profound messianic expectation. The existence of 11Q Melch demonstrates that the mystery of Melchizedek was actively debated and profoundly reinterpreted in Jewish circles before the rise of Christianity. It proves that the early church wasn't alone in seeing him as more than human. This ancient scroll adds a crucial layer to his legend, showing a pre-Christian tradition of elevating Melchizedek to a divine mediator, an idea that would resonate surprisingly with other mystical interpretations. Beyond the mainstream narratives, the enigmatic figure of Melchizedek found a surprisingly prominent place in the complex, often heretical, world of Gnostic thought. For Gnostics who sought secret knowledge, gnosis, for salvation, Melchizedek became a symbol of higher spiritual truths, an ethereal guide who bypassed the flawed demiurge and material constraints. His mysterious origin and lack of earthly ties made him a perfect Gnostic figure. Gnostic texts, like those found in the Nag Hammadi library, depict Melchizedek in profoundly mystical terms, often elevating him to a cosmic, transcendent status far beyond anything in Abrahamic scripture. He is seen as a heavenly being, a divine emissary sent from the true, unblemished God, carrying sacred knowledge to humanity. In some Gnostic systems, he is even identified as a spiritual archetype, a luminous being who descends to initiate souls into higher mysteries. He represents the pure, untainted spirit, unburdened by the physical world and its imperfections, a perfect intermediary between the human and the divine. His priesthood was seen as a spiritual one, dealing with the soul's liberation from material bondage, rather than earthly sacrifices. This interpretation appealed to the Gnostic emphasis on inner enlightenment and direct experience of the divine. The Gnostic fascination with Melchizedek underscores his enduring power as a figure who transcends conventional understanding. His mystery allowed for endless reinterpretation, becoming a vessel for complex theological and mystical ideas that stretched the boundaries of religious thought. Yet, other profound mystical traditions, rooted deeply in Judaism, also found themselves drawn to the irresistible allure of Melchizedek. Jewish mysticism, particularly the rich tradition of Kabbalah and its foundational text, the Zohar, also wrestled with the figure of Melchizedek, imbuing him with profound esoteric significance. Within these mystical frameworks, Melchizedek is often understood not merely as a historical person, but as a cosmic principle, a channel through which divine emanations flow. His mystery is not a gap to be filled, but a sacred veil hinting at deeper truths. The Zohar, a central text of Kabbalah, delves into the metaphorical meanings of his name and actions. Melchizedek, meaning King of Righteousness, and King of Salem, meaning King of Peace, are interpreted as representing fundamental divine attributes. He embodies the Sephirot, or divine emanations, of justice and harmony, linking him directly to the very structure of the cosmos. He is sometimes associated with specific angelic beings, or even with Metatron, the highest of angels, who stands before the divine throne. This association elevates Melchizedek to a powerful mediator, a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds, capable of revealing hidden wisdom. His act of bringing bread and wine to Abraham is seen as a deep mystical ritual, symbolizing sacred nourishment and spiritual communion. For Jewish mystics, Melchizedek's appearance in Genesis is not a random event, but a carefully orchestrated moment revealing universal spiritual laws. He is a key to unlocking hidden dimensions of reality and understanding the divine order. This profound mystical veneration contrasts sharply with his near silence in another major Abrahamic faith, raising critical questions about his absence. Given Melchizedek's prominence in Jewish and Christian traditions, one might expect to find him discussed at length in Islam. Yet, surprisingly, the Quran and most mainstream Islamic traditions observe a profound and perplexing silence regarding this enigmatic figure. He is simply not mentioned, nor are there clear allusions to him, leaving a significant void in his interfaith narrative. This absence is particularly striking considering that Islam reveres many figures shared with Judaism and Christianity, including Ibrahim, whom Melchizedek encounters directly. The Quran details Abraham's stories, his trials, and his prophetic lineage, yet omits the encounter with the King of Salem, the priest of God Most High. This silence has puzzled scholars and fueled conjecture. Some argue that the details of Melchizedek's story might have been seen as conflicting with Islamic theological principles, particularly the concept of Tawhid, the absolute oneness of God. A figure presented as without beginning of days or end of life, or as a powerful divine intermediary, might have been viewed as potentially compromising this core doctrine by suggesting a shared divinity or co-equal authority. Alternatively, his story might simply not have been considered essential to the message of Islam, which re-emphasizes monotheism and the finality of Muhammad's prophecy. His role was perhaps seen as secondary or even superseded by later divine revelations. This stark contrast in recognition across the Abrahamic faiths prompts us to consider other, even more ancient, mythological connections, like his link to a famous antediluvian patriarch. The parallels between Melchizedek and the enigmatic biblical figure of Enoch are too striking to ignore, suggesting a deeper, interconnected mythology that transcends simple biblical narrative. Like Melchizedek, Enoch is presented as a figure of unique divine favor who walked with God and then was not, for God took him. Both characters defy conventional human lifespans and disappear mysteriously, leaving behind a trail of extraordinary significance. In various ancient texts, particularly those outside the canonical Bible, Enoch's stature grows exponentially. He becomes a celestial scribe, an archangel Metatron in some traditions, and a revealer of divine secrets. This elevation from human to divine intermediary mirrors the trajectory many traditions ascribe to Melchizedek, particularly in the Qumran texts and Gnostic writings. Both figures seem to exist on the blurred boundary between humanity and divinity. Some traditions even attempted to explicitly link or identify them, viewing Melchizedek as a spiritual successor to Enoch or a manifestation of the same cosmic principle. Their shared characteristics, mysterious disappearance, elevated status, direct communion with God, and association with secret knowledge, suggest they represent an ancient, pre-Israelite pattern of divine appointment and wisdom. They both symbolize a form of access to the divine that bypasses typical priestly or prophetic lineages. This fascinating interplay between Melchizedek and Enoch points to a powerful pre-Abrahamic tradition of figures who transcended human limitations. Their existence before the formal covenants of Israel raises profound questions about earlier forms of worship and divine interaction. Indeed, their stories compel us to consider the very nature of priesthood before Abraham. The existence of Melchizedek, the priest of God Most High, before the establishment of the Levitical priesthood and even before the covenant with Abraham, begs a crucial question. What was the nature of priesthood before this defining moment in Israelite history? Melchizedek isn't presented as an anomaly, but as a functioning priest, operating within an established, albeit unrecorded, system of worship. This opens a window to an earlier, forgotten era of divine service. His appearance suggests that religious structures and figures dedicated to the worship of the one true God existed even in the chaotic, polytheistic landscape of early Canaan. God did not suddenly begin interacting with humanity through Abraham. There were channels of communication and worship already in place. Melchizedek, as a priest of God Most High, represents a universal, unilineal priesthood that transcended tribal boundaries. This pre-Abrahamic priesthood wasn't tied to a specific bloodline or a temple in Jerusalem. It was widespread, perhaps even a primordial form of divine service accessible to righteous individuals across various cultures. It hints at a direct relationship between humanity and God, one that didn't require the later elaborate rituals and mediations of the Mosaic Law. It was a simpler, more direct devotion. Melchizedek serves as a testament to this foundational truth. God has always sought worship and established channels for it, even in the most ancient times, long before the chosen nation of Israel. This broader understanding of early religious structures brings to mind other ancient, distinct groups who also prized a form of communal, direct piety. One such group, renowned for their spiritual discipline, would surprisingly intersect with Melchizedek's legacy. The ancient Jewish sect known as the Essenes, particularly through the lens of the Dead Sea Scrolls, reveal a profound and unique engagement with the figure of Melchizedek. This ascetic community, known for its strict adherence to purity, communal living, and messianic expectations, found in Melchizedek a powerful archetype that resonated deeply with their own spiritual aspirations and understanding of divine order. The Essenes saw themselves as the true spiritual remnant, the custodians of a purer form of Judaism. Their concept of priesthood diverged from the temple establishment in Jerusalem, which they often viewed as corrupt. Melchizedek, as a priest not of the Aaronic line and existing outside the Jerusalem cult, provided a perfect model for their alternative spiritual authority. He legitimized a non-Levitical, higher priesthood. The Qumran community's interpretation, particularly in texts like 11q Melchizedek, transforms him into an eschatological figure who would preside over the final judgment, a theme central to Essene beliefs about the end times. He was not just a historical priest, but a divine warrior and spiritual redeemer, a figure who would deliver God's people from evil. This made him a key figure in their messianic hopes, perhaps even alongside or superior to a priestly Messiah. For the Essenes, Melchizedek was more than a king or a priest. He was a cosmic force of justice and redemption, emblematic of a spiritual order far grander than any earthly institution. His embodiment of both kingly and priestly authority mirrored their own dual Messiah concept. The Essene fascination with Melchizedek underscores his enduring power to inspire diverse theological interpretations, sometimes even venturing into territory that religious authorities deemed dangerous. The profound mystery and unique characteristics of Melchizedek, while inspiring deep reverence, have also historically presented significant theological dangers. His existence outside established lineages and his seemingly eternal nature threatened to upend firmly held doctrines about priesthood, divine succession, and the nature of salvation. He was a wild card, a figure difficult to neatly categorize without inadvertently challenging core beliefs. For Jewish tradition, Melchizedek's pre-Abrahamic, non-Levitical priesthood could be seen as diminishing the supreme importance of the Aaronic priesthood and the Mosaic law. If a priest of God Most High existed before Moses and received tithes from Abraham, what did that say about the exclusivity and ultimate authority of the temple cult? He dared to suggest an alternative, perhaps even superior, path to the divine. In early Christianity, while the author of Hebrews used Melchizedek to elevate Christ, some radical interpretations pushed the envelope too far. Groups emerged that venerated Melchizedek above Christ, seeing him as a greater divine being or even the true Messiah. These sects were often condemned as Gnostic or heretical, indicating the profound discomfort religious authorities felt when defining his exact status. His lack of genealogy and endless nature could also be interpreted in ways that blurred the lines between creation and creator, potentially leading to polytheistic or docetic views where divine beings merely appeared human. The very essence of his mystery, while alluring, cast an uncomfortable shadow of ambiguity over centuries of fixed theology. These anxieties inevitably led to the most explosive question of all: was Melchizedek truly divine? The question of Melchizedek's divinity stands at the apex of his enduring mystery, provoking centuries of fervent debate. Was he merely a righteous human king and priest, miraculously preserved in the narrative, or was he something more? His description in Hebrews as without father or mother, without genealogy, without beginning of days or end of life, fuels the powerful suggestion of a non-human, perhaps even divine, nature. Some ancient traditions and early Christian groups, as we've seen, certainly believed he was divine, either a pre-incarnate appearance of Christ, an archangel, or some other celestial being. His ability to bless Abraham, the father of nations, and to receive tithes from him was often cited as evidence of a superior status, implying he was not merely an earthly figure. Why would Abraham offer a tithe to one who was simply human and not of superior spiritual stature? Yet, mainstream theology, both Jewish and Christian, generally resisted full deification. The danger of multiple divine figures, or one whose divinity might rival or preempt the established divine order, was too great. The dominant view in Christianity, for instance, is that he was a type or prefigurement of Christ, a human figure who symbolized Christ's eternal priesthood, rather than being divine himself. This allows for his mysterious nature without making him a god. Ultimately, the Bible itself doesn't explicitly declare him divine, leaving his exact nature gloriously ambiguous. This ambiguity, however, is precisely what makes him so potent a theological symbol. It allows him to exist as a bridge between the human and the divine, forever veiled in a sacred uncertainty. It's a mystery that, despite countless attempts to solve it, simply refuses to die. Melchizedek is truly the mystery that refuses to die, an enduring enigma woven into the fabric of religious thought. For thousands of years, scholars, mystics, and believers have grappled with his identity, his origins, and his ultimate significance, yet he remains perpetually just out of reach, forever suspended between the known and the unknown. His story is a testament to the power of the unexplained. His brief appearance in Genesis, coupled with the profound pronouncement in Psalm 110, created a theological wormhole through which countless interpretations have traveled. He is a king without a kingdom, a priest without a temple, a man without a verifiable history, making him a perfect canvas for projecting deeper theological truths and cosmic narratives. He challenges the very human need for clear answers and defined categories. Every attempt to fully explain Melchizedek seems to raise new questions, highlighting the endless layers of his symbolic power. Is he a historical person, a mythical figure, a divine being, or a prophetic type? Depending on the tradition, he has been all of these, yet definitively none. This ambiguity is not a weakness of the narrative, but its strength, enabling him to speak across cultures and eras. He reminds us that not all divine interactions are fully revealed, that some figures exist on the very edge of our understanding, pointing to truths too vast for human comprehension. The enduring allure of Melchizedek lies precisely in this refusal to be fully known. He will continue to captivate, to challenge, and to remind us that some mysteries are meant to remain untouched, serving as eternal beacons for deeper faith and inquiry. Make sure to subscribe for more religious videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.